It's time to present this week's Lip Sync Assassin.
I think it's Derek.
What if Laganja come back?
Who is it? I need to know.
Oh, who is this?
Has to be body.
Girl, I don't know. Who?
You doll. Oh yeah, you betcha.
There are two things I love most in this world: Scooby Doo and reveals. A reveal, I can't quite describe the sense of pleasure and excitement I get from something that I didn't expect to be there being there. I feel like it's a very LGBT thing. I don't know what that's about. Maybe we like the fact that the wool is being pulled over our eyes in a positive manner as opposed to a negative manner. In case you haven't figured it out, this is meant to be limberist. Gay. Being cursed as a gay, I unfortunately am a massive fan of the television show RuPaul's Drag Race. The format of the show kind of flipped and flopped throughout the years. Queens would compete every single week. Best queen performing each week would be the winner. The bottom two performing queens of each week would lip sync against each other, and the person who was deemed the better lip syncer would stay on another week. The worst one eliminated. But they kind of changed that around a lot, especially in the All-Stars formats. There was teams, lip sync for your legacy, and then it got to All-Stars 5, lip sync assassin rules. The way it worked essentially was that there'd be one top queen of each week, and they would lip sync against a mystery lip sync assassin. Quite convoluted, a bit like nonsensical, but it introduced my favorite element to TV, which is reveal screen. The lip sync assassin was just someone who had previously competed on Drag Race who was not in the current All-Stars cast. So it was like fan favorites, lip sync assassins, meme queens. Let me tell you, the highlight of my week, every single week, was watching that gauze rise slowly. I would try and guess based on the silhouette, and it was just this feeling of, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? It was just this joy I would feel of having the wool pulled over my eyes in a very positive manner. And it's a rush like no other. And I realised whilst I was watching it, there was an element to it that felt very familiar, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was until I remembered. There was something it reminded me of from my childhood, and that was, of course, Scooby Doo. Because as I said, my two favourite things are reveals and Scooby Doo. Wow! He's here! So what this format really reminded me of was the new Scooby Doo movies from 1972. So the new Scooby Doo movies was the second television series in the Scooby Doo franchise after the roaring success of Scooby Doo Where Are You? Each episode was considered a mini movie and was basically double the length of an episode of Scooby Doo Where Are You? But what they had as well was a celebrity guest would join them every single week. And it could be anyone, even you! Not you, obviously. I remember watching these movies on a very rogue TV channel, and in my head at the time, I remember it being described as the celebrity could be anyone in the world. And being a dumb little gay boy who didn't understand the concept of time, reruns, or just like television, I really thought it could be like some of my childhood favorites. I was thinking it was going to be Billie Piper, or Josie Jump, or Nunu. I was expecting, you know, the big hitters, but because obviously this was a show from the 70s, I was instead greeted with
The fucking speed buggy.
So after remembering the show, I thought to myself, I wonder if there were any actual celebrities I would recognise now that I just didn't know at the time because I was too young. Oh well, I guess we'll never know. Then I remembered internet exists. So I googled the celebrity list. After reading the first 3 names, I thought it was a shitpost and I knew I needed to watch them all. Mainly because All-Star 7 did not have the lip sync assassin rules, and I'm craving a reveal, and I need that reveal back in my life, so I thought this would be the best way to get that again. I also thought, how are they going to fit some of these celebrities into the world of Scooby Doo? How do they have the emotional and physical capacity to deal with criminals and the occult and Scooby Snacks? That brings us to the crux of this video, as I will be acting as hiring director and HR manager of Mystery Incorporated, and I'll be reviewing each episode and ranking every single celebrity based on how well I think they would be as part of Mystery Inc. Think of this as Masked Singer meets The Apprentice meets Scooby Doo meets a mother in the parking lot. In each episode, we have an adventure with the gang where we meet the celebrity, and this will basically be used as like their fieldwork interview. This will allow them to prove their worth, and what we see them go through, I will then use that information to decide whereabouts I think they should be positioned in the company, if they should be positioned at all, until we ultimately find who is the best suited celebrity from 1972 that I think should join Mystery Inc. permanently. So we're gonna rank all 19 celebrities to find out who'd be the best hire and who'd be the worst hire for Mystery Inc. In case you haven't figured out what's going on with this Dance Mum wall behind me, physical data really makes me happy. and I really think Abby Lee Miller was on something when she displayed data and worth in the form of a pyramid. And so I have created a pyramid of all the celebrities. You can't even see the ones on the very bottom, but that's fine. They should not be seen. So I started this project just myself. I got 4 episodes in, and it was so wild, even for me, that I knew I needed backup. So you are going to experience live commentary of the live Scooby Doo movies. Some episodes featuring just me, but a lot of them featuring a rotating cast of celebrity characters. My friends.
Joker and Penguin may land on the roof and enter
The roof?
skylight.
Why did he say it like that?
It's French for roof.
So what is the criteria we are using to rank these celebrities? I am so glad you asked. It is a literally flawless system that I have devised myself. This system will accurately and fairly decide the worth of each of these celebrities in regards to their abilities in the Mystery Inc. team. So we have 6 different categories they can score a maximum of 10 points out of, giving them a potential score out of 60 if they're in multiple episodes. Some of them are in multiple episodes. They got scored individually on each episode, and then their 2 ultimate scores were added, divided by 2 to make an average, because I understand maths. Originally, I'd only planned on ranking these celebrities on their skills alone. However, some of the events that happen in these episodes are so fucking buck wild, it's impossible to not take them into consideration when giving them points. So some celebrities do have some sort of situational advantages. But if you genuinely are so upset that you want to fight me about this, that's really funny. And I applaud you and your ability to have such strong feelings. I think that's amazing. Well done. So let's get into these categories and why I think they are important for mystery solving. So first of all, we have contributability. Originally, all these categories were going to be like Glee Project style categories. If you know, you know. They were going to be Glee Project style categories. That's why they have silly names, but they don't really work. Anyway, figure out. Contributability is basically how much does this person contribute to the team as a whole, whether it's like positive vibes, making them food, making them laugh, you know, just like any positive contributions that they make. Just brightening their mood in times of need. That's a contribution. Next is sleuthability. So where contributability is direct positive contributions towards the gang, sleuthability is direct positive contributions towards the mystery as a whole and how well they contribute to solving the mystery. Things we're kind of looking for here are the discovery of clues, whether intentional or not, whether they were able to piece together any elements of the mystery, and of course, ultimately, if they were able to figure out who the villain was in the end. This is obviously a very crucial skill, and even Flim Flam had some sleuthability to him, so if they don't have any sleuthability, then they are down here off screen. Next is campability. Obviously, if you're in a Scooby Doo episode and you have no elements of camp, then you should die! You gotta be camp! Darling! You're in Scooby Doo, you gotta be camp! Next is likability, so this is how liked was the celebrity by not just the members of the gang, but us as the viewers. Now I know you're thinking,
oh, they're guest stars in an episode of Scooby Doo, so obviously the gang are gonna like them.
No, you would think that, but in many episodes they make it very clear that not only do they actively dislike the celebrity, but they really, really wish they weren't there. Next is cultural significanceality. I know this doesn't really have much to do with their mystery solving skills, however, I do think it is important to take into account the celebrities that have stood the test of time and those who maybe would not be a good hire given how times have changed. Purely subjective based on if I know them or not, and some of them that I may have never heard of, you may have heard of and adore, and that's fine, that's allowed. You can have your own opinion, you can do your own thing, as am I. It's a free country. So I'm so sorry if I don't know a little silly little comedian from 1964. So final category is how balanced was the mystery. Spoiler alert, they solve every mystery. So I can't say like, oh, well, they should be hired because they solved the mystery in the end. No, this Mystery Inc. ain't no BuzzFeed unsolved bitches. They know how to get to a conclusion, whether they have a hindrance or not. So I don't think it's fair to say people should get points because the mystery gets solved regardless. So I added in an extra category, which basically takes into account how difficult the mystery actually was. This is scored a little bit differently because basically I'm looking to see if there were obvious things that the celebrity could have pieced together in order to come to a conclusion and use their sleuthing skills. A lot of episodes sometimes are just a sequence of events that happen. Like, they kind of just stumble through things and a mystery happens to get solved at the end. And that's not the same experience as actually sleuthing and deducing. They get more points if there is more of a genuine mystery to solve, as they've been given more genuine field work experience with Mystery Inc. and therefore are more qualified for the position. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. It makes perfect sense to me. If you've got any questions, put them in a little box. So that's the ranking system. She's flawless. She's untouchable. We worship the system. We love the system. We'll be going in reverse order, starting from 19th position, the worst possible hire for Mystery Inc., working our way up to number 1. Who could it be? Place your bets. I've also split each ranking into tiers. These are the tiers. Wait, I can move over now. I've split the ranking into tiers. I've given them fun little names, so when it gets to the end of each tier, I'll be able to say, and they were called this. I enjoy it. Oh, but first.
Keep it up, Scooby. You big chickens.
Okay. Come on, guys.
Before we officially start, God fucking knows how long this intro is. I created a little drinking game. You can either play it throughout the length of this video, or if you want to marathon all the new Scooby Doo movies, then this is a drinking game you can do as well. Because these are kind of recurring factors that we noticed whilst watching all of the movies that I will be bringing attention to each time they happen. So these are just fun things that I think deserve to be celebrated and we toast to be had anytime they happen. So, take a drink anytime. Daphne and Velma share a bed, / sleeping arrangements are weird. There is a car crash. Something LGBT happens. They end up in a cave. There is a projector. Someone in the gang is animated to look like shit. Drink anytime you want to renew your membership to the Velma Hate Club. Drink anytime I describe something as camp or a sleigh. And finally, drink anytime you don't have a clue who the guest celebrity is. Whew, long introduction. You're now on the Mystery Inc. recruitment and HR team as well with me, so welcome aboard. Thank you for coming to the journey. We're going to review the videos, review the CVs. This is the footage that we have to decide who we're hiring. So thank you all for coming, and let's begin figuring out who's going to be the next friend of Dorothy. Okay, do a fun little transition. Whoa! I've moved position, and I'm in mystery solving attire now. I'm aware this is not accurate. I gave away my good orange ascot to my friend for his birthday because I'm a kind person. Also, I'm literally colorblind, so if you make fun of me for not wearing the right color, that's ableism. And you will be cancelled, my friend. Let's get into the ranking. Let's start the pyramid. So in dirt last place, aka the worst person to possibly be ever hired for Mystery Incorporated, are the guest celebrities that appear in the episode titled The Weird Winds of Winona. Now, we saw the name of the episode before we actually watched it, so we were trying to figure out who the guest star of this episode could be based purely on that title alone, and we came to the logical decision that it had to be Winona Ryder. Sadly, it was not 2-year-old Winona Ryder, but instead...
What? The fuck is Speed Buggy?
I hope that flips. If that's not flipped, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm not gonna say I detest Speed Buggy. I am glad they are going to be hidden behind me. You can't even see it. I have so many thoughts about Speed Buggy. I was not familiar with this Hanna-Barbera franchise. It was a Scooby Doo clone that only ran for 1 season, 16 episodes, and that's understandable, as Speed Buggy is a sex pest from hell. So Speed Buggy is about friends Mark, Debbie, and Tinker, and the remote-controlled, but also alive car named Speed Buggy. What I don't understand is what is the point in having Speed Buggy be alive if he's also remote-controlled? Surely the benefit of something that you thought was inanimate being sentient is the fact that you don't have to control it. So why does this thing that is alive also have controls to control it? Maybe it's a kink thing? I don't know. So this episode is about the gang stumbling into the abandoned town of Winona, and after not being able to find a place to sleep...
Not this. What is this layout? Why is this an option? There's a van.
They bump into the Speed Buggy gang, who tells them the town is haunted by a very strong wind. The mystery is that it's fucking windy. There's a shadowy individual that zooms around with a broken wrist and laughs anytime the wind starts. But like, yeah, the overall mystery is just, why does the town get windy at night? So how has Speed Buggy earned himself the dishonorable position of dead last place? Honestly, Speed Buggy's whole issue is that he, as a car eldritch deity, terrifies me. He's fucking scary.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I hate him. I do not like Speed Buggy.
The voice he speaks with is clearly meant to be imitating like a car engine, but he just sounds horny.
That's right, my buddy Tinker. We'll do it, we'll do it. We'll do it.
What? Why does he sound like that? It's like he's a furry. Ew.
Speed Buggy also gives me like Skinwalker vibes, as his body is constantly stretching and morphing to like give himself limbs that he can pick stuff up with.
Speed Buggy is back. He's upright now. We can see his underneath.
Speed Buggy also lacks contribution due to the fact that he is a car, and he cannot go anywhere where cars can't go. His only real contribution is that at one point Shaggy and Scooby get locked in a room and he sharts the lock off the door. At no point does the gang look at Speed Buggy with any sort of affection, and I, for one, hate him. Now, obviously there's the other members of the Speed Buggy team, Mark, Debbie and Tinker, but they're not really present throughout the episode. Debbie's a little bit of a slay because she leads like an all-male team, but she kind of just gives Daphne light. Mark is also just kind of there, but Fred seems to really like him.
Why? What is going on? Oh, thank you, Fred.
Also, side note, I think there was like a mistake whilst making this episode, because when I was looking into Speed Buggy, Mark is very clearly white in the cartoon, but in this episode, he's very clearly not. So I don't really know what happened there. Mindy Kaling, she recast. she thought she was the first person to race band Scooby Doo, but no. They've been doing it since the 70s. Their adventure isn't very campy either. There's like one moment where a wind machine in a cave makes them float around like haunted candles. In case the ranking hasn't given it away, they also do very little to solve the mystery, and no one even knew that it was Mr. Peabody, the bank manager, who was making the town so windy. So Speed Buggy didn't find any clues, had no element of camp to him. I didn't like him, the gang didn't particularly like him, and I had no idea who he was. So he scored a very, very low score of 13 out of 60. As head of HR, not only would I immediately reject Speed Buggy's application, but I would also file a restraining order for the safety of the mystery machine. Any Speed Buggy stands out there, I'm sorry to do this to your boy, but just be a normal person, and if you're gonna worship an anthropomorphic car, make it Lightning McQueen, like the rest of us. He's much nicer and far less horny, as far as I'm aware. I've not seen Cars 3, so.
Look at Daphne's face!
She looks like Beaker from the Muppets. She's...
In 18th place, we have someone who's somewhat of a legend in the Scooby Doo universe. I wasn't quite aware of how many Easter eggs there were towards this person throughout multiple franchises of Scooby Doo, and that person is...
Today, Scooby Doo meets
Who the fuck is... Ugh.
Fool T, I'd never heard of this man in my life. But then, like Slumdog Millionaire, I guess, everywhere I looked once I found out who he was there.
Reed, this is the most embarrassing thing you've done since you decided to clean your beans at Don Knotts' Christmas party.
Bigfoot? Don Knotts?
It's always the spooky groundskeeper. What do you people have against groundskeepers?
It should be. I built it myself. Best security system there is. Nothing happens in this mall without me knowing about it.
So Don Knotts is a comedian and an actor, and he starred in many films, such as The Incredible Mr. Limpet, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, The Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again, Cats Don't... Wait! He was in Cats Don't Dance? I fucking love Cats Don't Dance. He's everywhere! I love Cats Don't Dance! Oh my god. So I know straight out the gate there are going to be people who are upset that I've put Don Knotts this low. When I explain to you what happens in this episode, you'll understand. Because in this episode, the villain is Don Knotts. So the gang get lost and go into Moody Manor looking for directions, but they are not alone. Haunting the halls of Moody Manor is the most horrifying creature known to man. a character actor.
You want anything, just yerk the bell and give a jingle, yeah?
It's quite stunning.
Don is tormenting these teenagers as he keeps them hostage in his SNL audition reel of horror. He plays so many characters and does quick changes just to bully and belittle all of them all the time, and they are so scared. Don is also so mean to them and is like roasting them in character.
And you're Ronald. Big as a whale, but I'd know you even in a squall.
You bet!
Don is like your friend who's doing like a one-man improv show and he feels very comfortable with like just you, so he keeps picking on you in the audience, but it kind of gets a bit personal and you're like, dude, pick on someone else. Jesus Christ. Don then forces them to have dinner with him in character, and they're also scared of him at this point that they genuinely believe he is going to murder them.
Like you really think the food is poisoned?
Uh-huh. I'll bet the cellar's just full of people who had their last meal.
What?
He then forces them to spend the night at the manor, which terrifies Daphne but thrills Velma.
Come on, turn out the light and let's get some sleep. Turn out the lights?
We spend so long going through all of Don Knotts' shenanigans that you forget that this is a Scooby Doo episode and we are over halfway through it and there's been no monster. It's just been Don. Oh, but then, twist, halfway through the episode you find out there is a monster.
There's a real monster!
But it's Don Knotts!
It was just what? No, it was just a Don Knotts character!
But in the last 10 minutes you find out that there is a real monster and Don is trying to solve a mystery.
What the fuck is going on?
So let's analyze Don using our ranking criteria. What does he contribute? Fear. Does he solve the mystery? No. He is the mystery. Is he likable? He is actively terrifying and traumatizing the gang. Is it camp? Yeah, there's a little bit camp in it. This episode understandably scored the lowest out of all the episodes. So I'm sure you're wondering, how is he ending up above Speed Buggy then? If he's such a monster, was Speed Buggy that horny? He was, but there's something else to it as well. Picture this, we are deep into the Scooby Doo marathon and I feel calm and secure knowing I am never going to have to watch an episode as terrifying and see someone as awful as Don Knotts ever again. That's when.
No, what? He's back? No! No, that can't be right. This is a different episode!
Sam was not banking on repeat.
There's 2 Don Knotts episodes?
That's right, he's got 2 episodes. He's done a doubler! So I'm immediately terrified that the gang is going to have to relive all the trauma they've probably buried from Moody Manor. And to be fair, I was right, because as soon as they bump into Don in this episode, he immediately arrests them.
Yes, sirree, the best accommodations in town.
Prison?
See those cunts?
Did you say cunts?
And forces them to sleep in a jail cell where they have to figure out the mystery of who threw a horseshoe at Scooby Doo.
Why would anyone want to throw a horseshoe at poor Scooby?
Why wouldn't you?
However, after arresting the gang, Don immediately stops being the villain and decides to actively help investigate with them. Which is nice. For a change. I was hoping this second episode would feature all the elements that we needed from the first episode in order to balance out some of his evil ways. Less of Don, you know, torturing the gang, and a little bit more of him being the hero. But no, instead he is shown to be equally as cowardly without any of the skills that Shaggy and Scooby provide. As already mentioned, this mystery is very dumb. It just kind of ends up them running around a cave filled with projections that is quite worrying that they don't recognize are projections. Like, a dinosaur, a whole ass dinosaur you can't tell is a projection. We were hoping that there was going to be some kind of twist where it would be revealed that Don Knotts actually was behind it all, just for a bit of fun. But no, it turns out to be this dummy thick skeleton man was in charge of it. Don doesn't find any clues and he doesn't really help at all. We did get a little bit distracted at one point watching the episode as we found this bizarre Don Knotts photoshopped nude.
Oh my god.
That is not real. That's not.
I'm shitty joking.
Don Knott with cum gutters and a huge dick.
Now, because he scored so low on his first episode, because he was the villain, we did actually see some improvements on his score this episode, literally just turning 0s to 1s. So his average score was actually raised higher than that of Speed Buggy's, thus putting him in the middle low rank where you can't even see him. So whilst Don Knotts didn't come dead last, he honestly probably should have. Now, as HR manager, I would not even send him an application form, just because I feel as though he would actually be wanting to apply to go to the faux ghost so that he can spend all of his time dressed as a monster chasing around wayward teens in this funhouse styled manner.
Hey, Peter! Don Knotts! I just want to talk! Stay away from me!
17th place we have...
Today, Scooby Doo meets Jonathan Winters.
I have no idea who that is.
Jonathan Winters. So, yeah, I did see him. Fuck's sake. So Jonathan Winters is an actor and a comedian known for films such as It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, Smurfs 1, Smurfs 2.
Is a Smurf's butt blue?
Jonathan clearly loves to do sound effects and voices. That's a majority of his jokes, and stand-up sets is all about these noises he can make. He also does this character called Mrs. Frickert, and in this episode he plays Mrs. Frickert, but she is a real character in the universe. Also, while looking through his stand-up routines, I found a set that was, what if a sissy fought Moby Dick?
I don't know where to stick him. They say if you stick him in the tail, they just go crazy.
So what happens in this episode? Basically, they bump into Miss Winters at a gas station and he invites them to dinner at his friend, Mrs. Frickert's house. However, a lot of shenanigans ensue. There's a scarecrow tiptoeing about, there's some sneakers that look like Simon and Garfunkel but aren't Simon and Garfunkel, but they probably smell like them. Category for this episode is sneakery. There's a lot of sneakery, a lot of tippy-toeing, a lot of campery in that vibe. You know what, I'm gonna say something controversial but brave. If this episode was just Mrs. Frickert, she'd be up here. She'd be on the top row, baby. She's feisty, she investigates, she has a motorbike, she fights the bad guy, she gets on great with the gang. She is very iconic, but they make it very clear and they establish, obviously, she's her own woman. She's her own person. The guest star is not Jonathan Winters and Mrs. Frickert. It's just Johnny Win-Wins. Speaking of Jay Winters, he is nowhere near as villainous as Don Knotts. However, where a lot of other kind of comedian guest stars end up putting themselves in peril and putting themselves in danger, Jonathan puts Shaggy and Scoob into mortal peril a lot and then gives them in trouble for being scared.
Would I lie to you? Trust me.
You mean like reach out and grab the edge of a paddle? Like this? Oops! Zoinks!
Don't zoink.
Let Shaggy zoink. Let Shaggy zoink. Let Shaggy zoink. The way JoJo contributes is through his professional voices and sound effects. However, he always gets very carried away and ends up doing whole radio plays and bits.
All right, you men. Move this hay wagon out of here.
Yes? What is it, Sergeant? Chief, the men are all set. Got a platoon of army men staked out in the wheat.
McGarity, where's that helicopter I ordered? Never mind, I see it.
His voice work almost works out, as he does get the Scarecrow to submit into a breathable position. However, he realises that JW's helicopter sounds do not sound like an actual helicopter, and so I refuse to put that down as a contribution, as it was a flop. He just lets Maud Frickert take the lead and then does bits on the side, and let me tell you, bits doth not make a good Mystery Inc. team member. Hence why he is third last, unfortunately. In terms of hiring, I would not put John any further through the process. I would kindly request that Maud Frickert puts in an application, as I would like her and her little motorbike to ride beside the mystery machine.
One of us should go down there. You fellas want to whack bushes?
Speed Buggy, Don Knotts, Jonathan Winters are in the lowest tier, not even visible, and I'm calling them the Clonkers.
Something strange is definitely going on.
In 16th place, we have, surprise, another comedian. This one seems to have starred alongside Don Knotts in the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Who is this? Is that Beans?
It's Tim Conway! Oh my god, it's fucking work too much.
I want to say I feel so uncultured when I don't know who these people are, but then I go on their IMDb and see he starred in 6 Air Bud movies. And I'm like, how was I meant to know? 6 Air Bud movies? You're in behind me. I recorded the commentary track for this bit with the wrong microphone settings, so apologies for crunchiness.
Oh my god.
You better
Someone has a forklift.
Where's her face?
The plot of this episode is that the gang go back to Velma's old high school, which is completely contradictory from Scooby Doo lore, but it's fine. And they find that the school sports day is being haunted by the ghost of an old athlete called Fireball McFame. There they find Tim Conway and find out that he's doing method acting as a coach because he's such a clumsy idiot and he doesn't want to be known for just his slapstick. This episode's really bizarre because low-key, the mystery is actually really well written. There are like loads of suspects and they're all very iconic.
I'm trying not to.
I'm afraid there are no more chances.
What?
There's also some really good foreshadowing in that we find out at the end the headmaster's evil twin is behind everything, and at the very beginning of the episode, the headmaster says he doesn't remember Velma, which we thought was just to do with the fact that Velma is insufferable, but actually it's because it was his evil twin.
Remember me? Velma?
Have we met?
Sure.
You better foreshadow that fucking plot. It does, however, rely on some Scooby Doo movie tropes. Everyone does at one point fall into a
Cave! We got a cave!
Yes,
Oh my god!
I think this episode also wins the award for most projections per second, as basically every scene there are 100 projections of Fireball McFame. Now how is Tim as a companion? He has some funny jokes, some genuinely funny jokes, like when they find a ghost in the popcorn machine.
There's a ghost in the popcorn machine. Really? Plain or butter?
Yes! Yes! Good joke, good joke!
Now unfortunately, Tim Conway's jokes do not make up for the fact that he is a bumbling fool. This episode feels very much like it was written without Tim Conway in mind. It seems like they developed this mystery of Fireball McFame in Velma's old high school and then decided just to add in random shots of Tim being a klutz. And I don't blame Tim. You know, it's his shtick, it's his character, it's his go-to thing. But as primary recruiter for Mystery Incorporated, the level of unprofessionalism is just far too much. So overall, this episode is very fun, but unfortunately, Tim just doesn't quite cut it as a sleuther. However, he is much more likable than those on the list below him. He also, I think, did figure out a projection or two, so he got some points for a little bit of sleuthing, bumping him in to 4th last place.
I'm getting big non-binary vibes from this.
I see it.
But at this point you're probably thinking, okay, we get it. Bumbling fools do not make good Scooby-Doo companions. But we're probably past all the bumbling fools now, right?
Today, Scooby-Doo meets the Three Stooges.
The Three Stooges. Huey, Dipsy, Mo. I am so sorry to the 4 people who were ranked as more incompetent than the Three Stooges, but them's the breaks. The Three Stooges are of course an American comedy team known for their slapstick and for being teeny tiny, I assume. The Three Stooges must have had something to promote this year, as they in fact did a doubler.
Again?
They did a doubler. 2 episodes, and honestly, their 2nd episode saved them. The first episode revolves around them running a clearly illegal zoo, theme park, abandoned western ghost town. Category for this episode is onion. Too many layers. Too many layers. There's evil waxworks, and a monkey, and an animatronic dinosaur, and an evil sneaky cactus, and a culturally insensitive projection, and a uranium smuggling plot, and a giant bat car. There's too frickin' much! You know, like, the whole vibe of the Three Stooges is that they are 3 small idiots who are constantly bopping each other on the head. That's the first episode. That's what you get. They run around bipping and bopping each other on the head. People seem surprised by how stupid they are.
I didn't know anybody could be so daffy.
Then you don't know the Three Stooges.
They do some slight solo investigating, which would be good if they found any clues or anything of benefit. They do contribute a little bit by helping to dig the gang out of a cave they find themselves in. But eventually they realise that you can't dig your way up. So did they contribute anything? Shaggy and Scooby did everything. For once. I also would like to take a moment to address how nasty Fred is in this episode.
Yeah, he can't take the aminos. You've been acting kind of suspicious lately.
Then why don't you fire him?
What the fuck, Fred?
This desert reminds me of a woman.
Why's that?
It goes on.
Shut the fuck up, Fred. Oh my god.
Where's your sense of humor?
Oh my!
I would also like to address this monkey that can traverse the mirror dimension.
The monkey just came through into our world.
Be careful when you look in the mirror. monkey might climb out. In the end, the Three Stooges are rewarded for their terrible behaviour and get to keep their disgusting evil zoo and are rewarded with a giant sandwich. And I'm, for one, I'm angry about that. Had they just had this episode, they would be deep in the bowels of the clonkers. However, their second episode they managed to redeem themselves as they fight off campy villain but possible Nazi, the Red Baron.
Ghost Nazi?
Oh my god.
So it turns out Curly is a great pilot. And that actually is a great skill needed to fight this ooky spooky boy.
Oh, I love him.
He's a little creep.
I kind of stand the chaos of the Red Baron, interrupting Daphne and Velma's sleeping time. The Stooges this time seem to figure out how they can use an airplane to solve all their problems, and they even use it to help the gang escape a cave they find themselves in. In the end, they even managed to take out the Red Baron by dropping Weed Killer on him, which I assume in the 70s was the equivalent of being dipped in liquid cancer. Fred is slightly less of a villain this episode, but Velma does still praise him on his shady ways.
You better read, Freddy.
This episode also has one of my favourite jokes, delivered by Scoobert himself.
Hey, what's that? A square ghost? See what's under the sheet.
Overall, the Stooges did a lot better on their second round, showing some critical thinking skills as well as their ability to use the environment for their advantage, which was a lot better compared to the bonk wop thwonk of their first appearance. Now obviously, I think from a PR perspective, hiring the Three Stooges is just an absolute no-go. It's in the name. It would be a PR disaster. However, they weren't awful, and I think maybe they could come and do some kind of slapstick routine at a Mystery Inc. corporate event or something like that.
The Three Stooges.
The Three Stooges, yeah.
I'm gonna say Scooby is a giraffe right now, and I'm going to leave.
In 14th place, we have a diva who I think needs no introduction. This was the first episode I watched with friends, and I was explaining to them that chances are we're probably not going to recognize any of the celebrities that are special guests in the episodes. So you can imagine my absolute shock and joy when I find out that the next celebrity guest star was Phyllis Diller!
Phyllis Diller.
Wait, what?
If you're wondering how I know who Phyllis Diller is, but not Don Knotts and Jonathan Winters, there's your freaking answer. So Phyllis Diller is an iconic comedic actress known for her eccentric personality and her wild hair. This episode starts extremely strong as the gang returns Phyllis Diller's lost dog to her haunted manor that she lives in and loves.
That's the classic banshee noise in Scooby Doo. Anytime there's a banshee. Yeah! Don't you just love it?
Within the first few minutes of the episode, Phyllis's behaviour is so unhinged, we genuinely thought the plot was going to be that she murdered her many husbands as she shows off her various torture devices and haunted portraits. Phyllis Diller has 5 portraits of her 5 dead husbands, which she definitely didn't marry for the money.
They all look real nice. Yeah, nice and rich.
I think Phyllis Diller wins the award for most insane haunted manor. Her basement is ancient Egypt themed.
Wow.
Why does she have a
Egyptian tomb? Well, you know what I always say.
An
When in Egypt, do like the Egyptians do.
What, Velma?
I have no idea.
And she has a graveyard with a living gargoyle in it. That's not a villain or a part of the mystery, it's just a fact. But living gargoyle is not the mystery of the episode. The plot of this episode is that Phyllis Diller and the gang go to a fake medium to speak to the ghost of her first dead husband. However, it turns out to be a scam for Phyllis to reveal the location of her prized jewels, and the gang have to race back to her haunted manor in order to save them. There is no real ghost. The only ghost here is the ghost of theft, deception, and manipulation. Ooh. This episode is ludicrously camp. However, Phyllis is very clearly a detriment to Mystery Inc. She is constantly revealing secrets and helping the bad guys rob her.
You can tell me.
Well, they're in the
Phyllis.
wall safe, behind your picture in the living room.
Phyllis?
She does really try her best to help, but usually to disastrous consequences, including nearly getting Shaggy and Scooby sliced in half. The plot also goes absolutely nowhere you think it's going to go. At one point, the gang all fall into like bed sheets and look like 5 ghosts, so we thought, they're going to pretend to be the ghosts of Phyllis's dead husbands. No. Instead, they become a ghost band. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but all of the episodes are really inconsistent with their use of a laugh track. Some audience members are literally squirting In so many episodes, the audience pee themselves anytime Scooby so much as says "rut-row." But for this episode, there is no audience, and Phyllis just laughs at her jokes alone, to the point where Fred actually gets annoyed and tells her to stop.
Midnight, the witching hour. For lovely me, the bewitching hour.
Quiet!
Phyllis does incredibly little to help the gang, and at the end just ends up locked in a clock and has to wait for the police to come and save her, because the neighbours saw the commotion going on in her haunted manor and decided to step in and help. So really she did very little to help the mystery be solved, and if anything, she was the mystery herself. So if she was such a bad team member of Mystery Incorporated, how has she ended up 14th out of a list of 19 people? Well children, as much as she is terrible, and she is, the gang go out of their way to talk about how much fun they had with her, despite all the carnage she has caused, and that's something that they never do.
We just enjoyed spending the evening with you.
Yeah, it was groovy fun.
This bumped up her likability a lot, and that combined with her campy behaviours and her crazy wacky house, it just gave an immaculate vibe that came together in quite a beautiful Scooby-Doo episode. So whilst her mystery solving skills are some of the worst, I just think she'd be such a great addition because of the vibes she brings, the fun she brings, the camp. I think the best position for Phyllis Diller would be maybe some sort of lunch lady type vibe. She's not actually involved in the mysteries, but every lunchtime they go and speak to her and she's got gossip. She's telling us about another one of her dead husband that maybe she put in the meatloaf or something like that. I just think she should be there, but not involved in the mysteries.
Madam!
Oh, love her.
I came over to keep an eye on my little wife, Madame Zokar.
He's married to Madame Zokar! Tim Conway, Three Stooges, Phyllis Diller have all been filed under the second tier, the Flim Flammers. Still pretty low down on the list of applicants, but nowhere near as bad as the Clonkers. Do we want Flim Flam on our team? No, but he does the job. Sorry, Flim Flam. 13th ghost of Scooby Poo, more like. Whoa. Now we move on to 13th place, which begins our absolute mid-tier. And trust me, there was nothing more mid than my reaction to finding out the next celebrity was...
Oh, Jerry Reed!
Jerry Reed was a country singer known throughout the country scene as the Guitar Man. He's got a guitar. Jerry is the first musician on the show, and I was praying for a musical chase sequence. Hands and knees. But good people of the audience, there is no musical chase sequence. None. I think maybe it cost a little bit extra to get him to perform anything other than Pretty Mary Sunlight.
Pretty Mary Sunlight, Pretty Mary Sunlight, Pretty Mary Sunlight, Pretty Mary Sunlight.
Do you know any other songs?
Oh my god. Yeah, any other song.
Jerry has invited the gang to the opening performance of his new show, as they seem to be like old friends, or maybe it's like celebrity influencers and they're doing like a cross promotion. It's very unclear how famous Mystery Incorporated are in this world. The gang go to Jerry's rehearsal and find this ominous note written from the Phantom telling Jerry not to perform, or else. They can't find him in the rehearsal space, but they hear him sing, which they immediately know is code for him being in trouble.
That's Jerry's voice. It sounds like he's in trouble.
What?
Where's it coming from?
What? Why do they think he's in trouble?
Because they went to his theatre and heard him sing.
Actually, I'm an expert in Jerry behavior, and they only do that when they're extremely stressed.
Cut to me at the barricade of the ABBA hologram tour holding a sign that says, "Do you need help? You're singing!" The gang's evidence that Jerry is in trouble is the fact that he is singing and that the stage door is locked. Very common things that happen in theatres. But of course, they are right. Jerry Reed do be in trouble. So Jerry has been kidnapped and is locked in the basement of the theatre, so he doesn't actually appear in the episode until 20 minutes in. But let me tell you, when he does appear, baby, I am obsessed. His southern accent is delicioso. He also calls his guitar his guitar.
My guitar's missing, and there just ain't no guitar. That reflection is off my jewel-encrusted guitar. Whoever's out there is the thief that stole my guitar.
He also starts every sentence with the word honey.
Well, now, honey, you gonna have to clean up later. Honey, I was in the Navy. Honey, we don't need a conference. My guitar's up there. Let's just go get it.
The sugar cane. Honey, I was in the Navy.
I'm walking down this runway.
So once Jerry is out of the basement, he's actually a really good member of the team. He investigates, he helps Fred and Daphne get out of the floor.
You okay, Daphne? Fred?
Daphne?
Well, what I need, son, is a guitar. Yeah, I know.
What? And he's actually an integral part of solving the mystery of the masked individuals who are stealing all the instruments, because, spoiler alert, they're actually bank robbers and they've hidden the gold behind a door that can only be opened if you play the musical notes F-E-B-A-G, and guess who figures that out? Jerry Reed!
And then you're sailing through space. You don't know up from down.
So even though Jerry is only in half of the episode, once he's out of the basement, he's actually a very crucial part of the team. And the team also love him, and he gives them free tickets to his sold out show.
This is the most people we've ever seen in a Scooby Doo episode, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're right. Sold out,
It's
I don't
sold
think.
out, is it?
Had he been in more of the episode, I think he would be ranking a lot higher, as he shows a lot of the skills required to be a strong Mystery Inc. member. But due to his lack of involvement for the entire first half of the episode, he scored a perfect 50% with 30 out of 60. I think in terms of hiring, he's already the perfect position for Mystery Inc. He's their famous friend who they do some cross promo with, and he gives them free tickets to his shows. Maybe he can also be some kind of informant for the gang, you know, let them know of any other musicians locked in haunted basements and are performing purely out of fear.
No, and that ain't Davy Crockett. That's Bertha the washerwoman.
Wait, Bertha was Davy Crockett?
Bertha was a drag!
Yes!
In 12th place, we have a group of people who I didn't know much about going into this marathon, but by the end of it, I was very familiar with them.
Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Reveal yourself!
Oh yeah! This peg is completely busted. Peg! There's only one Harlem Globetrotter here, but trust me, it's all of them. Growing up as a little boy in Scotland who doesn't participate in sports, the Harlem Globetrotters were kind of like waffle houses. It's something I heard a lot about, but it wouldn't have surprised me if it was completely fictional and not real. But it was really fun getting to meet the Harlem Globetrotters and their basketball-filled adventure the first time.
Again?
Harlem Globetrotters!
Again!
Now I know what it looks like. It looks like the Harlem Globetrotters had a great first episode, but a really poor second episode, resulting in a mid-average. But no. Another one?!
Oh my god.
3 Harlem Globetrotters?
Oh, I can't.
Can we skip this one and come back to it?
They did 3 episodes. A tripler. I am not going to talk about each individual episode for 2 reasons. Firstly, because this script is already as long as my marketing dissertation, and secondly, because all of the episodes are the same. So the plot for all 3 episodes is that whilst driving, Mystery Inc. come across the Harlem Globetrotters having some downtime. They decide to hang out as there is a boat-related mystery to be solved, and they spend the night in a spooky house. They practice some basketball with the gang, then solve the mystery before playing a very campy game in the end. Now the Globetrotters I fucking love, and the gang loves them too. They have a very strong sense of humour and are just very cartoonish and wacky. They are consistently good pals to the gang, and they all just have a laugh together. So their campability and their likeability were off the charts, but their sleuthability and their contributability kind of fluctuated, as basically they would just play basketball to solve the mystery, and sometimes it would work, and sometimes it would not. But they wouldn't stop basketing them balls. I'm also pretty sure they reuse the exact same basketball sequence in like multiple episodes. Editor Sam, check that out. All in all, I really appreciate the Harlem Globetrotters, and I actually think they're probably Scooby and the gang's closest pals out of all of the celebrities on this list, and I don't want to deny them that. However, as I said before, their ability to solve mysteries solely relies on the fact of, will a basketball do it? Will a falsy neck do it? I don't feel as though they are ever intentionally good sleuths. So for that reason, I suggest that Mystery Inc. and the Harlem Globetrotters just do some collaboration, some cross-promotion here and there. I don't think the gang are very good at playing basketball unless they are playing as the net. And the Harlem Globetrotters are not particularly good at solving mysteries unless it's a basketball-related one. But they clearly have a lot of fun together, and they could definitely promote their own companies, which I guess is, you know, what those 3 episodes were for. So, redundancy.
I wonder where they lead to.
I hope to shag Scooby and the Globetrotter.
I hope to shag Scooby. He just... I hope to shag Scooby.
Enough Harlem Globetrotters, on to the next. Now this is an interesting entry because as much as I said we'll be reviewing every single episode of the new Scooby Doo movies. The DVD I have is actually called the Almost Complete Collection and only has 23 out of the 24 episodes, due to a certain estate not wanting DVD releases of their characters. However, I was able to use my own sleuthing skills and find the episode for us all to enjoy. However, for fear of the estate, I will be sparing with the clips. I'll also be sparing because I have a history with these guests. Because in 11th place comes the Addams Family. Story time. So I did/do musical theatre, obviously. And there's this thing that happens when you're a kid who does musical theatre, where if you're tall, you will play an adult or a grown-up. And, you know, I hit puberty a little bit early on, so I was in Dad Town every single year. It then gets on to my final show before I leave for uni, which is the Addams Family. I was 17, and actually by that time everyone was very much taller, and I realised that I was actually one of the smaller boys in the cast. And I went, oh my god, this could be my year. This could be the year I finally get to experience what it's like to be a child star and play a little boy and play Pugsley in the Addams Family. All these years of being robbed of my childhood because I had to play Mr. Barry, the Deer Village grocer, when I was 10 years old. I would get to relive that childhood fantasy that I never got to have of just getting to be a little child star. And I did. Well, I was gonna play Pugsley for about 5 minutes until my mother, who was the director of the show, decided that, actually, we need someone to play Lurch. And so she went, well, actually, let's take Sam off that role, and he can play the giant. He can play the big, tall, gangly butler. He'll love that. So, my dream of getting to play a little child was ripped from me, and I was forced to play an adult, and guess what? Because I was one of the smaller boys, I had to wear big platform boots to make me look tall that I couldn't even walk in, and so I was falling over constantly, nearly breaking my ankle, and I hated it so much. I wasn't even allowed to dance or sing because I was in the big fucking boots, so I just had to stand and watch everything, and I was so miserable, and I hated doing the show so much that at the after show party I got so drunk, I drank nothing but vodka, and I passed out on a slice of Nutella toast. So yeah, I may be a little bit biased against the Addams Family. If you don't know who the Addams Family are, you're a liar. They're ooky and they're spooky, they're ding-dang and they're dooky, their dad is John Belushi, the Addams Family. The plot for this episode is that Morticia and Gomez need new babysitters so that they can go on holiday to a swamp. And luckily, Mystery Inc. have just crashed in a nearby ditch where they're found by Lurch. So the Addams Family consists of Morticia, Gomez, Pugsley, Wednesday, Fester, Lurch, Cousin It, Thing, Cleopatra, Homer the Spider, the Turtle, and they are all very iconic. The vibes are immaculate in the Addams Family house. Every line is like a pun or a joke, and they just kind of rule. Morticia has the campiest little strut, everything is decorated so maximalistically, and Pugsley is voiced by Jodie Foster? That's camp. Wednesday is somehow snatched by a giant bird from inside the house, and Shaggy prays it's not gay.
Please don't let it be gay.
The bird lays a ransom note for Wednesday, and the mystery begins. Where is Wednesday? I know I should be looking at the actual family skills, but I do consider their house an extension of the family. And as they go from room to room, the campiness and the joy just grows exponentially. There are skeletons in the closet which play each other's ribs like a xylophone, which is just like quintessential cartoonery. We also see inside Morticia and Gomez's bedroom, which is filled with torture devices, so you can make up your mind on that. The bird lays them another message and then begins to suck Shaggy and Scooby up through its cloaca. How did it get in the house? How did that giant bird get in the house? This is never answered. This question is only furthered when we find out that the giant bird is actually a helicopter driven by the previous housekeepers that were trying to get the ancient artifacts out of the Addams Family house for the neighborhood children to see. Now, it is evident from this episode that the Addams Family do not care to solve mysteries. Oh, at all. They are just vibing, being kooky little weirdos. But they are incredibly likable, incredibly camp, and ultimately everyone has a really fun time. Whilst they don't solve the mystery in any way, shape or form, or even try to, I think they created a really enjoyable experience for all of Mystery Inc. and they're definitely people that they'd like to go back to. I don't think the Addams Family would be full-time mystery solvers, but I think they could, you know, organize like corporate away days to their house and like team building activities in the different rooms and create kooky scenarios people to get out of and then have a big party afterwards in their horny little house.
Oh, a crocodile.
Wasn't that one of our...
It's her bag! Oh.
We are in the top 10, baby, and in 10th place we have the person who's actually Ghostface's favourite Scooby Doo movie.
Hello?
Hello, Daphne. Do you like Scooby movies?
Of course. I was just about to watch the one with Sandy Duncan.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
I have no idea who that is. Sandy.
Sandy Duncan. Sandra Lena Duncantina. Tony, Emmy, Golden Globe nominee, all for this episode of Scooby Doo, I presume. I was not familiar with Sandy Duncan until I watched this episode. However, I very much like to be. She seems like a lovely gal. Also, she played the vixen in The Fox and the Hound. Very camp. Plot time. The gang accidentally crashes into a film set after a mischievous little man jumps in front of their car. On the film set, they run into Sandy Duncan, and Scooby immediately falls in love with her. Scooby's insatiable lust for Sandy Duncan is unacceptable.
Like I'll go along with that, right, Scoob? I'd like to go along with her.
Ew! Ew!
We're then introduced to Sandy's stunt double, and it's immediately clear what the plot of this episode is going to be.
Yeah.
That's Daphne. That's Daphne.
Oh, wait, are we about to do some Tale of Two Cities stuff?
Oh my god.
This is a Princess and the Pauper, Princess
Switch.
a Tale of Two Kitties.
So Daphne takes over as Sandy's stunt double as the old one is sick of all these spooky things happening, and the gang explores various film sets, including a cave, to find out why these spooky things are happening. The gang are truly drinking their bimbo juice this episode. Shaggy and Scooby go into an ancient pyramid and are convinced it's a restaurant. Fred and Daphne wander into danger so nonchalantly, and Velma somehow finds herself in this predicament.
Figures I'd end up in Philadelphia.
They all just wander from film set to film set, completely helpless and confused, until our hero, our savior, where is she? Our savior, Sandy Duncan, wakes up from her night's sleep. Whilst filming a scene, the villain kidnaps Daphne thinking it's Sandy Duncan. Who would have seen that coming? And so Sandy steps up to become a member of Mystery Incorporated and decides to slay. She suggests using a ski lift to get to Daphne, and she gets her own snowball and sled chase sequence. Not only does she help capture the villain, but she then empathizes with him and spins his misdeeds into good by saying that nobody got hurt and actually it was all good PR for the film. You know, I think sometimes the gang are a little bit too eager to just throw someone in jail when they're just being a little bit ooky kooky shenanigans. So I'm glad that Sandy Duncan brought a bit of humanity to the team, you know, and really said, let's slow down, let's have a think about why they're doing this, and let's improve. Let's be better. So while Sandy Duncan was only in half of this episode, she made a big impact, not just on me and everyone who watched it, but the gang as well. They are clearly obsessed with her. Some a little too much. And they even say that she is the greatest. Sandy Duncan was such a hit that they brought her back for Scooby Doo and Guess Who years later, where they directly reference this episode, and also Sandy enters like this.
Like zombies, it's actor, singer, dancer, comedian Sandy Duncan.
I'm gonna say it, Sandy Duncan is my god, and if she gotten more time to show off her maximum slayage, Slayana, St. Clair boots the house down, she would easily have been in the top 5. But she wasn't. She was only in half the episode. She also didn't find any clues or solve any of the mystery, but incredibly likeable, had the biggest impact on the group so far, and has contributed so much to the team. She would definitely be welcomed as a full-time mystery solver down the line if she just got a little bit more experience and didn't file an HR complaint against Scooby Doo.
Also, Daphne's signing in for the stunt double. That's a very difficult role to just go into.
Yeah,
like, she's getting thrown the fuck about.
In 9th place, we have an incredibly dynamic duo who are incredibly off-center for some reason.
Genie,
Oh no.
Why are they so off-center? It's so fucking ridiculous. So based on the image alone, I was able to figure out that Genie was from I Dream of Genie, but that left the question, who the fuck is Babu, and why do I want to guillotine him immediately?
Yapple dapple! Yapple the dapple!
Okay. Is it how much we like them or how much the gang likes
Combo
them?
of both. Combo of both.
I would murder Babu with my bare hands. If that helps.
So I did some investigating. I found out there was a Hanna-Barbera animated spin-off of I Dream of Jeannie, simply called Genie, where Jeannie trains an apprentice genie by the name of Babu. How long did this spin-off last? Did you guess 1 season of 16 episodes? Like every other failed Hanna-Barbera spin-off? You would be correct. Also, the lady who voices Jeannie is not Barbara Eden of I Dreamed of Jeannie, it's a different lady, which I think is rude. Babu is the worst. He is dumb, he is stupid, he is constantly causing carnage and chaos wherever he floats. His voice is infuriating, and his catchphrase, demonic. I don't think Babu is the cause of all problems, but he makes them significantly worse. Jeannie, on the other hand, is a camp icon. This is how we meet her for the first time, floating effortlessly through the sky. She also casts spells by whip-cracking her hair, which is so cunty. I just need a Genie drag number now. But it's with great sadness that I have to announce that Scooby Doo, once again, is horny.
You just beheaded him.
Ooh. This bumps up her likability, of course, but unfortunately, it makes a lot of the vibes of the episode very uncomfortable and bestious. The vibes are just kind of horny throughout. She also talks about her master, which would be fine if she didn't say shit like this.
Wait, I'm getting a vibration from my master.
The plot involves the gang crashing into Jeannie and Babu and traveling to Persia, where they spend the night in a palace, exploring each other's bodies, I assume, before their beds turn into slides. Jeannie's unfortunately captured by an evil genie and trapped in a bottle, which means that Babu has to step up and save the day. Which he does not. But it's all fine because the gang fall into the cave that Jeannie's being held hostage in and Scooby frees her through the power of horny tears. And once Jeannie is out, she goes off, whip-cracking her hair, that Genevieve evil genie, putting him through it. So if this episode was just Jeannie, she'd be top 3 for sure. She shows intuition, she finds clues, she defeats the villain single-handedly, as HR for Mystery Inc., hired on the spot. But unfortunately, the episode makes it clear they are a package deal, and that apple-dappling moron would be a huge detriment to the team.
What happened to your bed?
I made a little mistake.
Shit.
No.
I do also fear for her reliance on her master, as I think that would make her reluctant to seek a permanent position in the team. I do think she'd be suited perfectly for a Christmas temp position. Maybe she comes in whilst Fred is on holiday, and Babu can sell apples in the parking lot. This concludes our mid-tier containing Jerry Reed, the Harlem Globetrotters, the Addams Family, Sandy Duncan, and Jeannie and Babu. So I filed them away in the tier I'm calling the Melvin Doos.
What do you mean, Melvin Doo?
Not quite Scooby Doo, but you could understandably get them confused in the right scenario. We're on to the big leagues now. In 8th place, we have a legendary person. So we actually knew who this person was going to be going into this episode because it was the very last episode we watched, and it was someone that we knew was on the show but hadn't seen yet. So we were delighted when we finally got a little taste of
Dick, 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 Dick.
Dick Van Dyke. Actor, singer, dancer, performer, winner of Worst Cockney Accent in 1964. I recognise that silhouette. Is that how he says it? I recognise that silhouette.
I know that silhouette anywhere.
Fun fact, I used to think Dick Van Dyke and my dad were the same person. They are not. But I've never seen them in a room together. I think this setup for a Scooby episode is the most nonsense one that still kind of makes sense given the context of who the guest star is. Because in this world, Dick Van Dyke has set up his own carnival where he plays every single part. From selling the tickets to being the strongman, it's a one-man show in true Dickular Von Dykular style. However, the carnival is not doing too well, as pointed out by part-time mystery solver, full-time bitch, Velma Dinkley.
Why is your carnival so unpopular?
Fuck off. Shut up.
Shut up, Velma.
Now, Dick says his carnival is flopping because it's haunted. However, using my marketing degree for the first time in my life, I've come up with a couple of other factors that might be contributing to its lack of success, mainly due to the fact that the carnival consists of what I see are portable zoos and 24-hour non-stop strips.
Wait, can you imagine anybody going after a ghost hand?
Strip? What was that? First of all, we got Van Dyke's portable zoo.
Zoo work.
Can you imagine?
What? I think I think he does a little striptease for extra cash. Oh, they're at the portable zoo again.
Yeah, they've came out.
It's really tight. Where's the portable zoo? Oh, there it is.
The gang are clearly just having the time of their lives as they ride all the carnival rides, including this fleshy sheathed coaster. Daphne just rides the bumper cars for fun, and the gang all just seem really comfortable with one another here. They really just play on everything. Daphne even wants to get a photo taken, which prompts Velma to come out the closet.
Women. What am I saying? I'm one of them.
So clearly it's just a very enjoyable atmosphere and the gang feel very comfortable to truly be themselves. And whilst Dick puts on lots of shows for the gang, he actually does help them in very sticky situations. When Shaggy and Scooby are falling from the sky, he catches them in an ice cream cart. So as much as he is a goofy showman, he also helps them get out of danger. He also helps Shaggy and Scoob get out of the cave they somehow fall into, and he even deduces that the ghost was nothing more than a man in invisible clothes with a giant haunted hand prop. So it turns out that the old strongman wanted to convince Dick that the carnival was actually haunted so that he would sell it to him a lot cheaper. Now there wasn't actually any clues to decipher this in the end, as the strongman kind of just announces that this was his plan, but Dick does use his showman skills and his various fun bits and pieces to help the gang get out of a couple of treacherous situations. And at the end of the episode, Dick gives them all these stunning outfits, and that's how you know he's a true ally. Well, there weren't any clues to actually be solved, and Dick kind of lacked in sleuthability. His fun-loving personality, fabulous vibes, showmanship skills, and ability to help the gang get out of treacherous situations really made him a solid asset to the team. I think Dick Van Dyke's Carnival could honestly be the next gang HQ, as they seem to have a lot of fun there, and you know, with a 24-hour strip, maybe Velma can finally get some action.
I'm in charge of the Tunnel of Love. Maybe somebody will take me for a ride on it.
Now by now you might have thought we'd passed the bumbling fools section of this list. However, in 7th place comes a dynamic duo that prove that you can be both bumbling fool and humbly cool.
Oh! Sorry.
Alright!
They're Laurel and Hardy. I assume that's their theme song. Laurel and Hardy are of course a famous comedy duo, and after this episode I can only assume lovers by night. If you are playing along with the Sam P Scooby Doo drinking game, I would suggest that you refill your drinks right now because a whole bunch of LGBT shenanigans is about to go down. First of all, the gang go to Vermont for a skiing holiday, and on the way they bump into Laurel and Hardy, who crash as Hardy asks if Laurel is wearing the underwear he told him to wear.
Okay. You're wearing your long winter underwear, like I told you?
They all go to the Mackinac ski lodge where they discover it's haunted by the ghost of Bigfoot. So there's a kind of implication here that there is a Bigfoot, but it died, and someone is pretending to be the ghost of Bigfoot, which is a lot of layers for a haunted ski lodge story. Everyone is split into rooms, but they all get their own bed for once. If Laurel and Hardy aren't enough campery for you, then the ghost of Bigfoot definitely will be, as he campily struts around, peering through windows like a haunted tree. He also just like randomly gets into bed with Laurel and Hardy for no reason, just to be comfy. He runs from room to room, causing chaos for no reason, just a bit of fun, and honestly, he's an icon for that. He also hides in a piano to make a grand reveal like Judy Garland and then scampers away. It is revealed that Bigfoot is a projection at times, however, he's ultimately harmless. Laurel and Hardy in this episode just want to be bellhops. Ultimately, that's their goal. They just want to help out the gang and carry their luggage. Hardy takes out a lot of personal frustration on Laurel, which I think is a little bit of a toxic workplace.
Look, Ollie, a sled. That's a toboggan. You can sit inside.
That's a toboggan.
That's a toboggan.
But considering their deep personal connection, I can kind of look past it. But the gang do have a wonderful time talking about what a great day they've had with their friends, Laurel and Hardy. As well as helping out wherever they can, Laurel and Hardy are actually very proactive in mystery solving, even having a couple of segments where they decide to investigate themselves. Hardy also joins in on beating the shit out of Bigfoot with Fred, only to realise that it's Laurel, but like, we tried. They also chase down Bigfoot in a snowmobile, and by the end of the episode, they are offered positions as full-time bellhops, proving that although they are bumbling fools, they're able to achieve their goals. Laurel and Hardy, I think, would be fabulous assistants to Mystery Inc., and actually their clumsy nature turned out to work out for the best in the grand scheme of things. The gang liked them, I liked them, they clearly liked each other. We all won. I think they could be hired as assistants with specialisation in travel, as they clearly enjoyed being chauffeurs and helping out the gang in that way. So next time you watch a Laurel and Hardy special, remember, that's not where they truly want to be. Their true dream, bellhops at the Mackinac Ski Lodge.
Who's afraid of Bigfoot?
You think they ever kiss?
Do they ever exploit each other's bodies?
This is a shit costume, by the way. This is so bad. We're on to 6th place now, and we have an actor who we didn't think we knew until we discovered he voices one of the campiest characters of all time.
Every time.
I think he might be Inspector Gadget.
No. Oh, he was Inspector Gadget.
Now, obviously, Don Adams is a lot more than Inspector Gadget. Actually, at the time of filming his episode, he hadn't even done Inspector Gadget yet, but I do think it's important to note that Inspector Gadget has the latest theme song other than What's New Scooby Doo. So Don Adams has started an exterminator company for Hollywood homes. However, he unfortunately crashes his car as he has ants in the motor. So the client that Don Adams takes the gang to is an old Hollywood actor with a name that you will be hearing for the rest of time.
Lauren Chumley. Lauren Chumley.
Lorne Chumley. All pictures of the great Lorne Chumley.
It's Lorne Chumley's theatrical storeroom.
Once again, the world will cheer and shudder and swoon at the talents of the immortal Lorne Chumley.
Yes! I know we're only ranking the celebrities. Oh, Scooby's gone! I know we're only ranking the celebrities, but oh my god, did I have to fight to not put Lorne Chumley on the list because I was so obsessed with him and the amount of times they said his name.
Lorne Chumley. They've said his name so many times.
Who, Lorne Chumley?
Who?
Lorne
Chumley?
The Lorne Chumley?
Wait.
Oscar-winning
Lorne
Lorne Chumley.
That's unrealistic because if he was in horror films, he would not have won an Oscar.
Oh.
But no, this is Lorne Chumley we're talking about.
Don Adams is absolutely fearless and is startled by nothing. He carries a note on his body at all times for his mother in case he dies whilst exterminating bugs. And he also has the best power walk / stance in the entire Scoobiverse. Don is also always presenting on all fours at any given moment.
Why is he always...
Oh my god.
Why is he
always?
He's always on the floor.
His art is crazy, and with a whole hashtag on the back.
Don is also an expert in so many skills. He's a black belt in karate, he can identify any type of bug, he's great at shadow puppets, and he really helps find clues and solve the mystery. This mansion is also maybe one of my favourite haunted mansions, bar Phyllis Diller's, as there's like 8 different horror monsters running around it, like a sea monster and a vampire, and they each have like their own funky room. There's even a swimming pool and a projector room. Every scene is like filled to the brim with camp, and I genuinely think this was done on purpose considering some of the lines in this episode.
Get this pussycat off me!
Even the capture of Lorne Chumley is over the top, with him having reveal on reveal on reveal. I think I could get easily blinded by the Lorne Chumley of it all, but Lorne Chumley aside, Don Adams killed this episode. He gave the gang a job, saved them multiple times, and basically figured out the whole mystery by himself. Reminder, this was pre-Inspector Gadget, so I think this episode is the reason he got that gig. So Don was a perfect sleuth. However, he made it very clear his one passion in life is eradicating bugs. Even at the end when
Lorne Chumley
was filming his film, all Don cared about was getting rid of the bugs. So whilst I would love to offer Don Adams a permanent position at Mystery Inc., I think he's genuinely too invested in his own exterminator company. But maybe he could do a freelance stint here and there.
Then we can proceed with our master plan uninterrupted.
We could kiss each other in the photo frame.
I was waiting for him to stop so I could make that joke.
Then we could kiss in our little costumes.
We can explore each other's bodies.
I don't think it's sexual. I think they like to kiss, no tongue.
Yeah.
We can explore each other's bodies, no tongue.
No tongue.
Top 5, baby! And in the honourable position of 5th place, we have a musician.
I tell you, she's from the Mamas and the Papas. She's the mama.
Oh, she's the mama and the Papas?
What an unflattering cartoon. That is awful. Possibly the fastest opening to an episode so far, we find out that Cass Elliot has been held hostage in her own candy factory by green globs that can float around. The category for this episode is environmental advantage, as Cass Elliot uses all her various different candies in her candy factory as weapons to help defeat the glowing green globs. Cass Elliot comes up with schemes involving taffy, jawbreakers, rock candy, bubblegum, anything she can find to escape the wrath of the green globs. It's really ingenious. Name a candy, she can make it into a weapon. The mamas and the papas and the willies and the wonkas. Cass is a fucking beast! Not only does she come up with ideas of how to escape rooms, such as eating all the popcorn in a room, but she also manages to catch Shaggy and Scooby, and then at the end of the episode, rams a fucking forklift into the green globs whilst blasting on a trumpet.
Yahoo! I've got no fault insurance and you're about to get rear-ended.
Yes! Yes!
Yes, work pig.
Gas reread them.
To drive at Indianapolis.
What? What was that?
She's such an icon. Oh my god. This whole episode is just Scooby-Doo finery. From the campy villains to the mad sequences and the stunning visuals. This, what you're doing right here, is Scooby excellence. So Cass eventually rear-ends the globs and turns them into desserts. And we find out that Cass's workers have actually been using the factory to grind stolen gold bars down and turn them into chocolate bars to smother them to South America. The mystery was actually established really well, but all the clues were found by Daphne, Fred and Velma, whilst Cass Elliot just bossed the globs. So it's kind of hard to establish her sleuth ability as she didn't really get an opportunity to put together any pieces of the mystery. So that is how Cass Elliot has found herself in the incredibly honourable position of 5th, especially when you see the top 4 above her. But honestly, it would not have taken much to bump her up a spot or 2. She's a legend, she's a star, and Mystery Inc. need her. She could definitely be hired as like the gadget gal, kind of a la Q from James Bond, you know, give her a candy, she'll turn it into some high-tech spy weapon. If her singing career went badly, she could become a candy maker, and if her candy making career went badly, she could become a mystery solver, and if her mystery solving career went badly, she could just fucking ram that forklift wherever she wanted. Mama's got it all.
Help, I'm a prisoner in the candy factory, Cass Elliot. So what's the equivalent of that nowadays? It's like Ed Sheeran being
Ed Sheeran locked in Cadbury World.
Number 4, hold the door. I think as soon as I say who's in 4th place, people are going to be a bit confused as to how they were beaten. Because just missing out in the top 3 is...
Oh, what? Batman and Robin? Fucking hell.
You see the upskirt? Legs. Yeah, somehow I managed to find 3 more qualified detectives than Batman and Robin. But I have my reasoning. This episode actually has quite a serious threat, as after crashing their car, the gang stumble into a counterfeit money smuggling scheme, which leads them to this old spooky house where they discover the dynamic duo who are also trying to figure out this counterfeit money scheme. I want to say something. People who bitch about Scooby-Doo often say the same thing. It's so obvious who did it. It's not the mean person. They're a red herring. It's the one you least expect. And to that I say, shut the fuck up. Shut up. What are you talking about? You're acting as though Mystery Inc. should solve mysteries by that logic? Don't be stupid. You're an idiot. You're a stupid little idiot. Imagine you were solving a mystery and you know there was someone who's decapitated with an axe and you go to the scene of the crime and you say, I wonder who did it. It can't be the person who's holding an axe covered in blood with a big sign that says, I killed them, because that's too obvious. That's the red herring. It has to be the little girl down the sidewalk. We haven't seen her yet. Clearly it's her. Do you understand how stupid you sound? You sound like an idiot. So shut up. Don't say that Mystery Inc. should use that logic, you fucking idiot. You're a dumbass. Stupid behavior. Don't you dare even bring that logic into this world. It's a cartoon. Have some fun in your life. That being said, it's really obvious that Mrs. Baker is the person behind this mystery, and I did deduct points for them not figuring that out. Batman and Robin are obviously incredibly competent. They find clues, deduce them, come up with solutions to problems, and they're ultimately the pair that discover that the money is counterfeit.
A masterpiece of duplication, except for one tiny slip-up. What's that, Batman? President Lincoln never wore a turtleneck sweater. Wow!
They're incredibly good detectives, but not very good at capturing the villains. Joker and the Penguin make a cameo in this episode, and literally all they want to do is cause confusion because Joker find it funny. Everything they do is just for cartoon romper room campery. One of those things is just throwing Batman and Robin into a pit until Shaggy and Scooby can save them.
Now, Pengy Wengy, watch me lure them into the room of doom.
The room of doom. What's it gonna be? Just a big hole in the ground? Big pit, big hole in the ground.
So whilst they are incredibly great detectives, they did require an actual amount of Scooby-Doo help. The gang also clearly likes them a lot.
We don't mind being blindfolded.
And they're always leading them towards the next destination. If I was to hire them, I would ask that Robin would wear some tights or trousers or something to cover up his legs as he's constantly spreading them a lot.
Robin, close your fucking legs.
This episode actually ranked highest on the Sampi scale, getting the highest score out of all of the celebrities. So you're probably thinking, if that's the case, how did they come in fourth? Well, fancy another one? It's a doubler. Twa! In their second episode, Joker and Penguin are back, but they've kidnapped Professor Flaky. They're also dressed up as a dryad and a bridge troll and going blah 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 blah. After some bridge shenanigans, it turns into a cave episode. But we find out the reason that Joker and Penguin have kidnapped Professor Flaky is for his brand new flying suit with a very interesting design.
Why has it got a pussy hole?
Banner and Robin take their sweet time to help the gang at all points, leaving Shaggy and Scooby to fend for themselves basically constantly. The manspreading from Robin is a lot better, however, there are still some very highly unprofessional and inappropriate moments.
No? Yeah, I was gonna say, what did he run for? Where's Batman's trousers gone?
Oh.
What? What?
He's like, I'm warm. You put them back on.
What the fuck?
As much as they have saved like hundreds and thousands of lives or whatever, I get this feeling that Batman and Robin see the gang as below them. And they're like, well, you guys deal with this silly, goofy little situation, we're gonna deal with the big stuff. And I don't like that. If it had just been their first episode alone, they would have run away with this. They would have been #1 without a shadow of a doubt. However, they're kind of half-assed like attitude in this second episode, where they're just kind of over it and don't really care that much.
We'll zip right over there. Good luck.
I'd climb a mountain to swim the deepest ocean. I'd even help her shopping. That's the depth of my devotion. It will be a dream come true. She's even got a...
The Batcopter. They got here first.
Maybe they had such a good time the first time, they're like, I know we're gonna be hired no matter what. Why bother? I don't appreciate that attitude. You know, give us your 100% at the time. Because of this, they were bumped down to 4th place, which is still extremely respectable. So I would offer them a job as detectives. However, I think I would have to keep an eye on them as I can see them developing an attitude problem.
Yes, Shaggy, we'll all have a snack. Bat milk and cookies for everyone.
Bat milk?
I can't deal with this episode.
From 8th place to 4th place, we have our second last tier, consisting of Dick Van Dyke, Laurel and Hardy, Dawn Adams, Cass Elliot, and Batman and Robin. Turned into Moira Rose there. Which I have titled Friends of the Pod. These are strong candidates who would definitely be welcome to the company, but maybe just missed out on that top position.
Oh no, don't tug my ascot. Don't pull my ascot. It's not a Scott. No, baby, you can't have my ascot, cause girl, it's mine.
Here we are. Top 3. This tier, these 3, they are called future CEOs, as they are the ones that could take it all. So, taking the bronze medal, 3rd place in the Scooby Doo movie mystery celebrity guest ranking Masked Singer extravaganza is...
Who's Davy Jones?
I'm very sorry that I did not recognise that this was Davy Jones from the Monkees and not Davy Jones of the Locker. I've done the research, I'm educated now. This episode sees the gang going to Hegglethorne Hall, where they discover it is haunted, yes, by a headless horseman. Hegglethorne Hall is haunted by a headless horseman. This episode sees the gang go to Hegglethorne Hall, where they discover that it's haunted by a headless horseman. The way I did this was that I watched each episode once. After watching each episode, I scored them, counted up the score to make the ranking, then watched them again to make the script. Watching the episode the second time, I don't think Davy Jones should be this high. Controversial. However, there were 3 factors that very much blinded us upon first watch of the episode. The first factor being...
Why, you're Davy Jones.
I never could keep a secret.
Oh my god.
Wait.
They did him so dirty with that, like, picture.
I know.
Why am I biting my lip?
I hate us.
We had a crush on him. We fancied him. Fucking barbershop boy, monkey boy, we fancied him. He speaks like a wise elf that would invite me in for like a hearty broth, you know?
Scooby, what an unusual looking animal.
He's hot. What the fuck?
He's also very brave and tackles the horsemen, even though he's just a projection. And he's just such a gentleman. I love him. The second factor that blinded us was giant frog. I loved the giant frog. This inexplicably giant frog is the funniest fucking thing in the world. Look at this fucking stupid giant frog. If the giant frog had been the main villain of the episode, it wouldn't have been as funny, but the fact that he's just this secondary character to the Headless Horseman just makes it all the more hilarious. High camp, giant frog. The giant frog does absolutely nothing other than chase the gang, and yet they all deeply fear him. The frog is also inexplicably strong and is able to rip out stalagmites from the cave they're in. The frog also experiences possibly the worst death in the Scooby Doo universe.
The frog better not die. I don't want the frog to die.
The third factor is a combination of both the previous factors in the form of a musical number. Whilst in the cave, Davy decides to distract the frog by singing it a little song.
I know a place where I am going, and a place where I am going just around the bend.
Wait.
Yes! This is so good.
When I tell you, I had been waiting so many episodes for a musical chase sequence, and this one was performed live. My heart, I couldn't take it. Honestly, I suggest everyone watch this episode just for this musical number alone, because it is serotonin straight to the soul.
He's just a big frog. Oh, this is so cute! This is so cute! Yay! This is so fun! This is the vibe I want.
Davy is not the best at sleuthing. However, basically everything else, he got full marks. Am I a little biased because I am emotionally attracted to a cartoon man from the 70s? Perhaps. But I'm also attracted to the cartoon frog from the 70s, so form your own conclusions. So I was actually going to lower down the score after my second watch, but I realised, as HR of Mystery Incorporated, first impressions count, and I would have been blinded by his charisma and his bravery and his ability to sing down frogs from murdering his friends, so I would give him a job on the spot. Maybe he would not be quite, like, up to the level as some of the other members of the gang, but he would be very beneficial for all frog-related mysteries.
Duke of Strathmore, that the castle is his.
Uncle, you can't.
You can't!
Here we go, a runner-up. Honestly, this is basically the entire reason I did the video. Number 2 best mystery solver in Scooby Doo history.
Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Yes!
Here we go, boys!
Sonny and Cher. Do I need to say anything more? It's Cher. It's Sonny and Cher, but it's Cher. Every aspect of this movie, campery to the max.
Little chicken of the sea.
What was that transition? That was wild.
That's like you editing a video, Sam.
The villain is a shark god who is just a shark with legs. The outfits are iconic. Cher's sleepwear is peak. Every frame a campster piece. So the gang bump into Sonny and Cher after they've crashed their car, and they all decide to spend a night in the Hideaway Hotel, which Sonny pays for all the rooms, because of course he does. Important to note, Cher is in a particularly foul mood this entire episode, giving her some iconic one-liners.
You know what? My ESP tells me that tomorrow will be a beautiful day and we're gonna have fun, fun, fun.
Aww.
Yeah, well, something tells me in your case, ESP stands for extra stupid personality.
They balance each other out, however, as Sonny is super optimistic, which creates a harmony between them. Okay, so obsession with Cher aside, what talents did they demonstrate to give them the silver medal? Firstly, Sonny and Cher do some active, independent sleuthing. Usually the celebrity guest is paired off with some kind of combination of Mystery Incorporated, usually Shaggy and Scooby. However, Sonny and Cher go off on their own and discover quite a lot of clues, just the two of them. Also, Sonny just constantly brings it this episode. He buys the gang the hotel room, he is constantly leading Shaggy and Scooby out of danger, and in the end, he captures the shark god in a pile of gold. This mystery mystery also has many layers. The sharks are fake, the trash can lids are painted, there's ancient doubloons in a cave, Matilda the maid is actually an FBI agent in drag. It's very fierce when it's all wrapped up. This was by all accounts and purposes a flawless trial run with Mystery Inc. So much so that Cher actually got to say the iconic line.
She really brings down the house.
Aw.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
I don't know why she said it. She deserved to say it. She took down a god. A shark god. That isn't grounds for immediate hire. I don't know what is. Cher, if you're listening, which I know you are, please, please, please solve some more mysteries. The world needs you to be solving more mysteries. The world also needs you to release another ABBA album. Here we fucking go. Nerds. The celebrity guest star that is the most qualified to join Mystery Incorporated and the winner of Ultimate Mystery Guest Solver, the #1 celebrity in Scooby Doo Movies, is Alexandra Cabot.
Hey, why don't you watch out where we're going?
Oh god, I love.
Yes, shout at her.
Okay, not just Alexandra, but in fact...
Oh my god.
Yes! #1. Josie and the Pussycats. So Josie and the Pussycats was another Scooby-Doo clone, a Hanna-Barbera show lasting, you guessed it, 1 season, 16 episodes, but where Speed Buggy flopped, Josie and the Pussycats flew, baby. I think they've stood on their own as cartoon legends, and they even got another show where they're for some reason launched into space.
Josie's on a rocket ride. Pussycats are by her side. Hey, is the cookie guy. Come along and take the...
You can see that the color scheme and design of a few of them are very clear clones of their Mystery Inc. counterparts. You've got buff, gayer Fred, redhead purple girl, somehow an even more stonery Shaggy.
How did I know that Dixie Queen was a junkyard?
That's Shaggy.
That's Shaggy.
That's Case of Caseland.
But I think they do stand their own as characters once you look past that initial comparison. This episode is basically a Josie and the Pussycats episode that Mystery Inc. kind of fall into, as the band is performing on an old ghost ship that they need to refurbish. The Pussycat Gang do have an advantage over the other celebrities, as they are essentially a secondary Mystery Incorporated. They do function as a mystery solving team. They split up, they make traps, they get into jests and japes, and they jump onto projections of ghosts. They do it all. They also have a trump card that Mystery Inc. is missing, and her name is Alexandra Cabot.
I'm Alexandra, the real star of this group. And they interrupted my beauty sleep. Speak for yourself, sister. I'm ready to split.
I love her.
I think what Mystery Inc. is missing is a bitch that's just gonna beat the shit out of the ghoul. Alexandra's supposed to be like the comedy relief villain of the show, but I don't think she's ever wrong. Punch the ghost, Alexandra. The Pussycats also come up with a lot of solutions, such as leaving a trail of money to the cave they're about to get locked in. They're pretty much all slaying, and they're all great contributions to the team, including Sylvester the cat. They do not perform a musical number, however, which is disgusting the more I think about it, but I will be a good marker and not dock points. Perhaps they thought it'd be too much of upstaging Mystery Inc. on their own show if they did a whole musical number. Now when it comes to me, hiring director of Mystery Incorporated, I have to remember that they are actually active competitors and could potentially sabotage the company. As much as I would love to work with Alexandra, she is such a wild card. Her character wiki page describes her as cynical, hateful, cantankerous, mean, ignorant, selfish, offensive, rude, envious, scheming, and self-centered. It's not a great reference. I think if their band ever flops, they could 100% start up their own mystery solving company and become fierce competitors for the Inc. Legends, icons, stars, congratulations Josie and the Pussycats. You guys are the winners, the #1 top ranked celebrity that would be best to join Mystery Incorporated. Thank you so much. Well done for your work. You're hired. You start Monday.
Your mom when
What a ride. 19 hopeful candidates ranked and narrowed down to the top tier winner. This was incredibly done and took far too long, but I had so much fun. There's nothing that brings together friends more than watching janky 70s cartoons. I highly recommend giving it a go. If you made it this far and you're playing the drinking game, I applaud you and assume you are completely smashed. So please go have a drink of water. That's your final drinking game. Drink water before bed. Thank you for watching this. You made it this far. This has been a lot of fun. I've been working on this for like a year and a half, something insane like that. And you can see time pass as I film myself because it's just taken so long. But it's been so fun, it's been such a delight. This is Sam P, Head of HR and Hiring Director for Mystery Incorporated, signing out. I do need to go and sign Mystery Inc. up for an emergency course in identifying a projection from reality. But whilst I do that, Cher, take us home!
Scooby Dooby Doo!
I know a place where I am going, and the place where I am going's just around the bend. And you know there's a lot that I can show you, and if you wanna go there, I can get you in. Happy is the secret word, and if you're happy, it will get you through. And I love you, you know it's true, and I can make you happy if you love me too. The things that you see, I've only been dreaming, but I can make your dreams come true. 'Cause I love you, you know it's true, and I can make you happy if you love me too. I know a place where I am going, and the place where I am going's just around the bend. And you know there's a lot that I can show you, and if you wanna go there, I can get you in. Happy is the secret word, and if you're happy, it will get you through. And I love you, you know it's true, and I can make you happy if you love me too.
I've done it!